All right, guys. In true Dirk Werning fashion, I am late to the game on these knives. These knives are discontinued. So I'm going to put a link to the Grayman website, but they're not making this one anymore. It looks to me, and from what I have heard from other people, is that they're no longer doing folding knives, which is a shame. They have some really cool fixed blades on their website, though. So, go check them out. It doesn't hurt. Now, I don't know for sure if this was like original equipment, right? I don't know. It fits it super well, but this is how it came to me from Steve over at Scotch and Things. And if you're not watching his channel, you're probably missing out. I think what I'll do is I will link either down below or at the end in a corner. He did a disassembly of a different one that he owns. This one he sold to Professor EDC, and Professor EDC was gracious enough to send it to me first so that I could film it because he knew I would like it. This is truly an overbuilt knife with a beautiful recurve, beautiful blade. Like, this thing is just totally badass. And if Professor EDC decides he doesn't want this, just let me know. I'm sure we can work something out and it will have a happy home here at my place because it's super cool. This thing is, you get the feel that you can go chop down a tree with this. Now, when I did the unboxing, I knew nothing about it. So I know a little bit more now. So there's that. I still think that the construction does remind me of my Hinder XM24 that I used to own. It was also green G10. It was a non-flipper, so it had thumb studs and kind of similar construction. Not so much the look exactly. This also reminds me of the Strider / Medford AR.75 in the blade shape a little bit. Not exactly, so don't get me wrong. But this is probably one of the biggest, how do I say it? It's one of the most normal sized overbuilt knives that I have, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but we're going to talk about that. 1/4-inch blade stock. Let me give you some rough specs. It's 5 5/8 closed, just a hair over 9 3/4 overall, with a 4.21-inch blade. Now, when I did the unboxing, I pulled my King Battle out of my pocket and put it up here side by side just to show the massiveness of this. But if we put the blade, kind of the scales to scale, the blade is about the same size, as the King Battle. The King Battle has 4 1/4, so it's just a tiny bit longer than a little bit longer than this guy. But this is a much more useful and practical blade, okay? And I don't even know if I mentioned, this is called the Satu. Now, the Satu, kind of, if you've been hanging around on YouTube for a while, you probably heard of Satu Dave, and we had him as a guest on the EDC Hour with Dirk and Alex at one point. And he came up with his name because of this knife. He owned one. He loved it. It spoke to him. And so he came up with his handle of Satu Dave. Now, Satu Dave also does make some titanium scales for this particular knife. Satu Dave is a machinist by trade. So he has made scales for his. He's made new stop pins. He's done some work on his bushing in here. It runs on phosphor bronze washers. Has a bushing that goes through the blade and whatnot. So yeah, if you've got one and you want some work or aftermarket stuff, Satu Dave might be the answer. But this thing just is a beast. Now, some of the other overbuilt knives, like when we talk about overbuilt knives, I think a lot of people think Medford Knife and Tool Praetorian. Okay. This is the Praetorian tie, the grenade tie. It's small in comparison, quite frankly. It's super cool, but I don't know that this is as overbuilt and as, I don't want to say it's less practical. This particular version might be less practical with the Sanmai Chad Nichols Damascus blade, all the contouring and milling on the scales with the frag pattern and all that good stuff. Yeah, is this something you're going to want to take out and beat on? Maybe, maybe not. This one, you're going to have no problem going out and beating on. And that's what I did with my XM24, which was in a similar configuration. Now, Big Knives also did an overbuilt knife with a 1/4-inch blade, the Bugatti. I was fortunate enough to have them custom make this one for me. This is a 1-of-1 configuration. The only Bugatti they did a black blade in, and the is it the only one that has the Dragon Lady pattern? It might be the only Dragon Lady also. It matches my Bodega that also looks exactly the same. So, again, this is not something you're going to go out and beat on either. But this is more the normal, overbuilt type knives of the past. Okay? Overbuilt, I think, is coming back. But then you can go to the crazy overbuilt. And you go to Phil Harvey. And this is the Gladius. This is crazy overbuilt that you're really not going to carry often because it weighs a pound something. This one weighs 10.1 ounces, by the way, which would equal 2 D-cell batteries. Okay, these are 5 ounces. So take 2 D-cell batteries, put them in your pocket. That's what this is going to be. This guy's like a pound something. It's super awesome. I'm super glad I have it, but I've carried it maybe once, maybe twice. The lock bar on this thing is crazy. And the pocket clip is it's bigger than a flashlight. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So that's the crazy overbuilt. And I have other crazy overbuilt, but we won't go there. Let's talk a little bit more about this guy. So 1/4-inch blade, CPM 20 CV. Overall thickness is 0.580, so it's still manageable in the hand. Scotch and Things did a video where he disassembled it and he swapped out this G10 scale to a contoured titanium scale, which absolutely added to the weight, but gave it a little bit more thickness, it looked like, and gave it some more weight and just good feel in the hand. The action on this thing is great. Detent is super, not light as it just flies open, but it's just right. Maybe it's on a little light side, but yeah, I don't have a problem with it. And the recurve, man, I love a good recurve. Okay, these are made in the United States, and I think it just looks fantastic. The milling on here is great. It's super grippy. If you had wet hands, you'd be fine. Has a lanyard if you're into that. G10 backspacer. The pocket clip, not my favorite aesthetically. But it works great in the pocket. There's just enough retention. It just works really good. The lock bar cutout is contoured and smoothed and softened. Chamfered on the edges. No big branding at all. And I love the way they did it. It's just kind of etched in. It's not black. It's not stand out. It's just enough to be there. Almost perfectly centered. Just a hair off, maybe. Solid, crazy lockup. This thing is ready to do some work. Okay, so Now that I've rambled enough, let's just do a couple of quick size comparisons here with the Sharpie, with the Spyder Codelica. I don't know what this Grayman Satu cost. I don't know what it costed new, and I don't know what Professor EDC bought it for. So I can't really go into that. But their fixed blades look very similar in blade shape, just obviously bigger dimensions and a fixed blade, not a folder. But man, these things are pretty cool. Am I going to go and search one out to own? No, I am not. I'm just not. There's other things on my list that I may be more inclined to get. But the action on this thing on washers is just great. I have stuff on bearings that is not as good as this. This is the RJ Martin Q36SS, and this is on bearings. And it has similar-ish action. So people that say, oh, you can only get it smooth on bearings, no. Washers work just great also. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts. If you've made it this far, please comment Satu down below. It helps me know that you made it to the end. It helps the YouTube algorithm and all that other BS. But it really just lets me know you made it all the way to the end. And I really like knowing that people made it to the end, even if I ramble a little bit. So thanks for watching, everyone. Professor EDC, again, thanks so much. I will get in touch with you and see if you have other things coming. A lot of times, because it's going into Mexico, Professor EDC sends 4 or 5 things to me over the course of a few weeks. I film them, I box them all up, and send them all at one time. So we'll get that sorted out. But everybody else, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time.